everybody. Welcome to the Minimalist Podcast, where we discuss what it means to live a meaningful life with less. My name is Joshua Fields-Milburn.
And I'm Ryan Nicodemus, and together, we're the Minimalists.
What if there was a minimalism checklist that helped you live a simpler life?
Finally.
Well, we found one. And that's what we're talking about today on this public edition of the Minimalist Podcast. Then this Thursday on the Minimalist Private Podcast, Ryan and I are going to record an entire episode about one of my favorite subjects, minimalist architecture. You can check that out at patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description. Your support keeps our podcast and YouTube channel 100% advertisement free. Ryan, before we get to our questions today, I wanted to pull up this minimalism checklist, and then I'll read some of it to you here. This is from our friend Joshua Becker's website, becomingminimalist.com. It's a guest post from Melissa Wilkins, and Melissa has this checklist of becoming a minimalist. And so when you want to seek minimalism, if you're thinking about becoming a minimalist, what are some of the things to consider? So I'm not going to read the entire article. We'll put a link to it in the show notes so you can follow along if you'd like. You can read the entire thing. But this is the minimalism checklist that she put together. Number 1, Ryan, what is your why?
Or how might your life look better with less?
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
In fact, so Ryan and I often, when people ask, we're doing media interviews or whatever, where do we start? And people often think, well, you start in your attic or your garage or your basement, whatever.
Right.
And those things can all be helpful, but really starting with the why. How might your life be better with less? Asking that question helps you uncover the purpose behind simplifying.
Yeah.
Number 2 on the list here is start with easy. I really screwed this one up, Ryan.
Yeah, me too.
I could have done so much better if I started with the easy stuff.
But instead,
I started with the most difficult things. What are the most difficult things?
Well, I mean, in your case, it would be your mother's things who had just passed.
Yeah, sentimental items.
Yeah, exactly.
So I didn't even know about minimalism at the time. Oh, Jordan, can we start our timer over here, by the way? Thank you. I didn't know about minimalism at the time. I started simplifying my mom's stuff when she passed, and that was not easy at all.
Yeah.
I looked around all her things, and I wanted to cling to all of it because it was all sentimental to me. But of course, if everything is sentimental, then nothing is sentimental.
Right.
And as much as we want to cling, what are we doing? We're just putting, as our friend Dr. John Deloney says, we're sort of just putting bricks in our backpack. And it's almost like I went down to Florida to deal with my mom's stuff to really just grab all of the bricks that she had accumulated over her life and bring them back into my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't start with the easy stuff either. I mean, I packed up my entire house.
Yeah.
The packing party was crazy. But you know what, though? When you kind of came up with that idea, I knew that it was going to help me change my state. And
hold on, real quick.
Go
Ryan.
for it.
I didn't come up with the idea completely. I came with half the idea. I came with the packing part.
Yes, and I came up with the party part. Yes. I was mimicking Colin Wright's breakup party.
That's right.
But yeah, man, I mean, that almost was the easy way to change my state, or it was maybe maybe that's the way of looking at it. It was a simple way to change my state, but it was not easy. I mean, it took us 10 hours to pack everything up, and unpacking was kind of a pain in the butt. I wish I could say, I mean, I knew what was in the boxes. Everything was marked real nice. But they were just kind of all stacked in a cube, and digging for things was kind of a pain in the butt. But
yeah,
ultimately, it worked out. We wrote about it, and here we are, 11 years later almost.
I think it's almost 13 years later.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
It's 12 years later, I
You're
guess.
so old.
Not if you're watching the YouTube version. Thankfully, Austin and Jordan are color correcting this whole episode.
They put the de-aging filter on you?
Yeah. It's a giant Instagram filter.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
basically catfishing you if you're watching the YouTube version.
Some of those filters are crazy. I bet you could find a de-aging filter. Anyway.
That would look insane. Well, didn't they do that in one of those, Scorsese film, The Irishman?
Yeah, The Irishman.
It looked like an Instagram filter throughout the film.
Yes, it did.
Anyway, starting with the easy, one way to do that is the 30-day minimalism game, which was sort of an amalgamation of what you did and what I did when I simplified my life. When I simplified my life, it was, what if I got rid of one item just one, each day for a month, what would happen? Well, I end up getting rid of way more than 30 items because you get that momentum. You have to start with something easy. Just find anything. And then your packing party was a bit extreme. So it was like, how do we meet in the middle here? And the 30-day minimalism game was the way to do that. So you partner up with a friend, a family member, a coworker, beginning of the month, you make a bet. You bet $1 or $1 million or anything else you want to bet. And you decide, hey, over the month, we're going to get rid of some stuff. First day of the month, we each get rid of one item. Second day of the month, we each get rid of 2 items. It starts off really easy, but by the middle of the month, for me, it started to get difficult around day 12. Every time I've played it, it's like, a dozen things today, and then a baker's dozen tomorrow.
Yeah. No, Mariah and I are playing it this month, and like, today's day 16, and like started getting hard around day 14 or 15, where it's like, oh no, now I got to. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know if we're gonna make it to the end of the month, but it definitely gets difficult around that time for sure.
Well, we'll see who wins, and then I'm sure Mariah, if she wins, I guess you have to like streak around the neighborhood nude.
We're playing together.
Oh, so you both have to go around the neighborhood nude.
We're playing against ourselves. Yes, exactly.
Make sure you film that, Danny.
We'll put it on our OnlyFans.
Oh, I was going to say TikTok, but all right. Anyway, if you want to download our free minimalism game calendar, you can see all the rules and the terms and conditions. Just kidding. There are no terms or conditions. It's free to play, but you can download the free minimalism game calendar over at theminimalists.com/game. Number 3 on the minimalism checklist, Ryan, is separate wants and needs. Now, you and I would call this junk and essentials. I would add one other category in there, non-essentials.
Yeah.
So the other way I would look at that is need, want, and like.
Right.
Or essential, non-essential, but value-adding, and junk.
Yeah.
So in our minimalist rule book, which you can download for free at theminimalists.com/rulebook, we have 16 rules for living with less. One of them is the no junk rule. And the no junk rule says everything you own, even if you own 100,000 items, 1 million items, everything you own or everything you're thinking about owning can fit into one of 3 piles.
Yeah.
It's either essential, it's non-essential, but adds value to your life, or it is junk.
Yeah.
The problem with this is too often we think we need something, but it's just a want.
Yeah.
Or even worse, I kind of liked it once upon a time, but now it's getting in the way.
Yeah.
Well, if something gets in the way, it is clutter. And our ability to let go is what enables us to move forward with the things that are necessary. Now, she does have one line at the end of this one here. Separating wants from needs. She says, needs have to stay. You get to choose about the wants. And so what I would say is, even the needs, you can consider removing them from your life.
Yeah.
Because temporarily depriving yourself of something might teach you that you actually don't need it at all.
Yeah.
Number 4 on the checklist is look for the joy. A good rule of thumb is to keep things you know to be useful or believe to be useful. In the words of William Morris, if you want a golden rule that will fit everything, this is it. Have nothing in your houses that you do not know to be useful or believe to be beautiful. I think that's great, especially when we talk about minimalist architecture. We're going to talk about this on the Maximal episode this week, Ryan. We're going to talk about the 8 elements that really go into minimalist design. And that encompasses it fairly well.
Yeah.
And quite often, it's beautiful through subtraction. The bones are the beauty of simplicity. Number 5 on the minimalist checklist is clear your schedule. We often don't think about calendar clutter, but one of the ways we fill up our lives with unnecessary stress and anxiety is through cluttering our calendars. Sure, we've got a lot of physical clutter in our homes, our cars, our offices, our garages, our attics, our basements, our storage lockers.
Yeah.
But then we also start cluttering our calendar with meetings and appointments. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. Nothing wrong with material possessions. Just like there's nothing wrong with meeting with friends, family, businesses, coworkers, whatever. But when we're constantly filling up our calendar, it's because we feel that we need to do more in order to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
That rarely works.
That's why I got interested in minimalism. I wanted my time back. And so that's a great step. That's something that I was able to achieve. Like I remember selling my condo and getting rid of my car payment. I was like, oh, wow, like I can start clearing my calendar now because I don't need to work this crazy job, these crazy hours to pay for all these debt payments.
Yeah. Now, recently, you talked to me about some calendar clutter you were having. You had missed an appointment or two.
Yeah.
And you realized, like, well, wait a minute. Maybe I need to restructure this a bit. You want to talk about that at all?
I don't know what there really is to talk about, except, I had this week where I was committing to certain things and totally just slipped my mind. Like after 5 o'clock, my brain says, hey man, you don't have to do much right now. Like, just like you're in coast mode right now. Like it's towards the end of the day. All you got to worry about is eating and getting ready for bed, hanging out with Mariah. Yeah. But like we're, one of the things I forgot, I'm sitting there and Mariah's like, oh my God, we're supposed to meet so-and-so at Topgolf.
So she forgot too.
Yeah, she forgot too. We are dilly and dally. I don't know which one's which. But yeah, we God love us. But yeah, we both forgot. And I'm like, and I feel like such a jerk, man. Like I call my friend, like, I'm so sorry we forgot. I'm on my way. I'm going to be about 5 minutes late. They were like, no, we'll just plan another time. I'm like, all right, like fair enough. Like that's fine. But yeah, so what I've had to do, I mean, as far as restructuring goes, I got to set an alarm for things. I did this yesterday. I had a meeting at 5 o'clock. As soon as I got up in the morning, I checked my calendar. I always do this. I check my calendar. That was what was helping me prevent things, missing things, by checking my calendar. But now apparently, if there's anything at 5 p.m. or after, I have to set an alarm. So I get up, I check my calendar. If I have an appointment at 5 p.m. or after, I set my alarm for like 4:30 or whenever I need to leave or whenever I need to think about leaving. So that it was great because that, yesterday that alarm went off at 4:30. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that meeting. So yeah, sometimes I got to restructure a little bit, but I'm not overcommitted. But I will say I do often overbook sometimes. So, and Mariah is really good at helping me not overbook. So, someone will be like, hey, do you want to do something on this date? And I'm like, yeah, because, the Enneagram 7 in me.
Give me more.
The glutton for fun and experiences. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And Mariah's like, hey, you are going to be in Nashville that weekend. Oh, yeah, that's right. No, never mind. I can't do that.
Well, here's a few things I've done to help with my own calendar clutter because I suffered a lot from calendar clutter. During my corporate days specifically, I would have virtually every 15-minute block just blocked out. And I thought it was keeping me organized. Just like my basement was organized with lots of bins and boxes and labels. And I was doing the same thing with my calendar. It was just a 2D version of my basement, basically.
Yeah.
A few things that have helped me. Number one, most important, saying no much more frequently. Our friend Derek Sivers talks about hell yeah or no. And if a decision is not a hell yeah, then I say hell no to it. The other thing that's helped me out a lot is something similar to what you do. I just, at each night before I go to bed, I will check my calendar before we do something called that we call setting the stage. So at home, we'd spend 5 or 10, no more than 15 minutes. Usually it's 3, 4, 5 minutes. Just resetting the house. If there's anything that's left out, we put it up. And it sets our next morning up for a stress-free, calm morning. But then I also know if I have to get up early for something, if we're going to record a podcast that day or whatever it might be, if I need to leave the house early, that way I know the night before so I can plan for it. I'm not blindsided by it. If I don't do that, there was a time a few months ago where I didn't do that. I forgot to do it that night. And of course, what happened? I missed the interview that you and I were supposed to do.
But then I paid you back the following month when I forgot the other interview.
Yeah, we're just good friends like that.
That's right. We just, thank God there's 2 of us.
Oh, the irony. The irony of all of it.
Oh, yeah.
Number 6 on the minimalism checklist, unplug everything. You don't have to unplug forever, but scheduling regular screen-free time can restore your perspective and bring more joy to your simple life.
Like, yes, a screenless Saturday every once in a while or every Saturday.
Yeah.
It's useful. It's great. It's peaceful.
Bex and I just moved into this new home with Ella, and I've been surprised by how not compelled Ella is to get on her tablet anymore because she has access to more nature. She has access to arts and crafts. We have her right now in this clay pottery camp that she really enjoys going to. And so it's apparent to me that our screens are often a pacifier. For kids and for adults. We pacify ourselves with our glowing screens.
Yeah.
On the Maxwell episode this week, someone asked a question about, well, you don't have internet at home. How do you what do you do with your time then? Which is an interesting question, but I'll talk to you about some of the things that I do.
No one would have asked that like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, even 10 years ago, you would have probably gotten far fewer requests like that to explain yourself and how could you possibly survive without it? Well, it's really easy. It's really peaceful. We'll talk about that. Yeah. Number 7, schedule rest. So this is one thing that if you do have calendar clutter, maybe something else that can help you out is scheduling in blocks. And you'll see this on my calendar. Ryan and I share a calendar, and he'll see this on my calendar from time to time where it just says JFM personal time, and it's 2 hours, 5 hours, whatever. And I'm generally scheduling nothing intentionally. Now, I avoid putting anything on my calendar anyway, but there are other times where I just want to block off time and it's JFM quiet time, and that's it.
Yeah.
So scheduling rest. Yeah. Number 8, make it your own. Simplicity is not a competition. And I think that was early on when we stumbled into minimalism, Ryan. You saw all these different minimalists, like the extreme radical minimalism.
Oh, man.
Here are the 75 things I own.
The 100-thing challenge.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Dave Bruno, which is a great book.
Great book.
And he, in there, is able to illuminate the fact that it's not about the 100 things. It's about temporarily depriving yourself to find out what is important, what is clutter, and getting rid of the clutter for him and his family. Yeah. But then we saw even more extreme minimalists like Colin Wright, who owned 52 things, and it got down to Nina Yao, who I think at one point owned 15 things.
Yeah, it did start to become a competition at a certain point. I don't know when, but yeah. If being a minimalist is owning as little as possible, then there are monks who are killing us in the game. They're destroying us.
That's true. Yeah. And so Ryan and I aren't ascetics. We aren't monks. We're not trying to live with nothing. In fact, my quality of life would go down considerably if I lived with nothing. Yeah. The question is, what is appropriate for me? And if it's a competition, then I may be depriving myself of what's appropriate because, oh my gosh, Ryan doesn't own this bed, and so I guess I can't own a bed either, whatever it is, right? Or this person doesn't own a couch, so now I'm not allowed to own a couch. Yeah. Or this person doesn't have a coffee kettle, so now I can't own a coffee kettle. Yeah. And now I'm depriving myself of something that would actually add value to my life.
Comparison is the killer of joy.
Amen.
And I'll tell you the one thing I own though that I'm a little frustrated that I absolutely need. It is my bed. Because I've gone camping a couple times over the last 6 months. And dude, my back is so bad. I didn't realize how bad my back was. Yeah. Until I went camping. And then I wake up the next morning, I'm like, oh my God, I could do maybe 2 nights of it, but beyond 2 nights, I don't get good sleep. I hurt in the morning. But there's this resentment when I lay and I even got the adjustable bed. Yeah. I'm like, oh man, I'm glad I have this so I can get some good night rest, but I hate that I need it. Yeah. I absolutely need it. Anyway.
Well, there are a couple more items on the minimalism checklist here. Number 9 is remember your relationships. I would simply say love people and use things because the opposite never works. Number 10, enjoy more and less. More time, more freedom, and more room to breathe. Less stuff and less stress. Less to organize, store, and take care of. Less hassle, less hustle. I dig that. That's from Melissa Wilkins. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. She has a blog as well. We'll put a link to her blog in the show notes. And she has a book called Permission Granted. Ryan, before we get into our questions, I want to talk to you about 5 questions that I want to ask you.
Yes.
So I thought this would be appropriate since we're talking about the Minimalist Checklist on this episode. We're talking about simple ways to simplify. And one of the ways to simplify is to avoid bringing new things in to our lives because that can become a problem. If you simplify everything, you let go of everything, but then you just buy everything new and you amass a new hoard over the course of months or years because hoarding or clutter doesn't tend to happen overnight. Yeah. It's over a period of time.
Well, when you open up space, it's like calling for us to fill it.
That's right.
So it's very easy to do.
So we have this at theminimalists.com. This is 5 questions to ask before buying. We'll put a link to this in the show notes. And also in here, you can find these 5 questions on our website. If you go to theminimalists.com/wallpaper, you can have them on your phone. So whether you're at the store or getting ready to shop online, you can have it as a desktop wallpaper as well. You can download these 5 questions, and they're just a nice little reminder before you decide to buy something new. Yeah. the first question to ask yourself if you're getting ready to buy something new is, can I afford to part with this money? Here's a hint. If you have to charge it to a credit card, you can't afford it.
Amen.
Now, that is not an insult. There are many things that I can't afford because I simply don't have the cash for it.
Yeah.
Now, why don't I want to go into debt for those things? Because maybe I feel like I really want it now, or maybe I feel like I even need it right now. Well, the truth is, I don't want to punish my future self for my current impulses.
Yeah.
I don't want to punish my future self. I don't want to borrow from my future in order to placate myself right now.
Yeah.
The second question to ask is, can I pay the actual cost?
Yeah.
Ryan, you want to talk about the true cost of an item?
Oh, sure. I mean, there's the cost of storing the thing, maintaining the thing, watering the thing, charging the thing, changing the batteries in the thing. Yes, changing the oil in the thing, refueling the thing, repainting the thing, taking care of the thing, protecting the thing. Yeah, there's so many other costs that we just don't ever think about.
Yeah, and so it goes beyond the price tag, right? We pay for an item, then we end up paying for it over and over again. The storing of the thing, the worrying about the thing, the psychological and emotional costs of our thing are immeasurable. So we have to choose really carefully what things we bring into our lives because we can't afford everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's really easy to look at the price and say, yeah, I can afford that. That's quantifiable. But all those other costs that I mentioned, those are the emotional and the psychological costs, those are really difficult to quantify. So yeah, we've got to be real careful.
Yeah. Number 3, will it add value to my life? So for me, it must serve a purpose. If I buy something that's going to serve a purpose or it's going to amplify or enhance my experience of life. And if not, I have to be honest with myself and I have to leave it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Because if it's not going to add value to my life for an extended period of time, then it's leaving it at the store is like letting go in advance.
Yeah. Tweet that, Professor Sean. Hey, I really like the joy. Does it bring joy? And what was it? Or serve a purpose? Is that what that article was saying?
Oh, the article earlier was talking about whether or not it's either useful or it's beautiful.
Yeah, useful or beautiful. That's what it is. I love that. That's
and you're both, Ryan.
Oh, thanks, man.
Here's the next question for you. Question 4. What are the alternatives? In other words, is this the best use of this money, right? So say I do want to buy a $100 widget, because you know me, I love some widgets.
You love widgets.
I have so many widgets, 13 of them. Anyway, I have a whole widget collection. No, if I'm getting ready to buy something and it's $100, and let's say it is going to add value to my life, that's not a good enough reason to buy it though. If it's useful or beautiful, great. That's one of the questions, but it's not the only question that I'm asking here. Because if I have $100, that is a finite resource.
Yeah.
Is this the best use of this money? And if not, I'd rather spend that $100 elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's that old Andy Davis line that we love. He has that great song called Good Life. And he said, we struggle to pay rent because jeans are expensive.
Yeah.
And that perfectly summarizes our obsession with consumerism. We're forsaking our needs in order to get what we want right now.
Yeah.
And the 5th and final question to ask before buying something is, can I get by without it for a while? Now, it doesn't mean you have to live without it forever, right?
Yeah.
We have something in our Minimalist rulebook over at theminimalists.com/rulebook. You can download it for free. Of the 16 rules that are in there, there's one that we call the wait for it rule or the 30-30 rule.
Yeah.
And that basically says, hey, if something costs more than $30, I wait 30 hours to buy it. Now, it doesn't mean that I can't afford it. I have $30 in my pocket. I could buy it right now, right? Why do I wait then? Well, I wait because maybe if I think about it for a day, I'll realize that was just an impulse.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll be just fine or even better without it.
Yeah. Amen.
Ryan, I want to talk to you about 2 quick ways to save money on every purchase.
Okay.
So,
coupons.
You know what's funny is I don't do coupons.
I know.
And the reason I don't is because I have found in my own life, I'm not prescribing this to anyone else, but I have found that in my own life, if I cut coupons, save coupons, join rewards or loyalty programs. By and large, when I do those things, they actually encourage more spending.
Of course they do. Yes, they absolutely do.
And that's what they're designed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so I have two quick ways. In Alabama, I want to talk to you about this here in a second as well. So Professor Sean, make sure her microphone is on. So whether it's furniture or appliances or any non-consumables, the first thing that I will do is I will incorporate the 30-30 rule that we just talked about.
Yeah.
If it costs more than $30, I'm going to wait at least 30 hours. I'm going to wait for it. And sometimes the way that I'll do that is I'll put something in my cart. If I'm saying I'm shopping somewhere, I want to buy something online, I'll put it in the shopping cart. And then I'll go back to that shopping cart the next day and I'll delete all the items where I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't buy that thing.
Yeah.
And so the 30-30 rule, or the wait for it rule, helps me avoid the clutter before it ever enters my front door or shows up on my doorstep.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. The second thing that I do is I'm much more comfortable now buying high quality items used.
Sure.
I'm going to talk to you in a moment about how I just sold all of my furniture as we were moving.
Yeah.
It was this awesome experience. In fact, you know what? We can talk about it right now. And I think it'll be part of this little two-step way to save money. Because when Bex and I were moving, my landlord at our apartment in LA, he came in to do his little walkthrough. And he says, I have rented hundreds of apartments to hundreds of people. And this is the nicest looking apartment I've seen. Who does your interior design? I was like, oh, I do. And he's like, what would it cost to buy all this furniture from you? I'm like, what? He's like, seriously, if I wanted to buy all of this furniture, everything in here, what would it cost me? And so I'm like, I don't know, man. A lot of this. And then I got a little clingy at first, right? Because, well, wait a minute. My identity's tied up into my couch and my table.
Yeah, and you spent so much time curating all those things.
And it's art. And we're going to talk about that on the Maximal episode this week, how the furniture that I enjoy the most are also, they double as art pieces. It's form and function.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where minimalism really comes into helping us simplify our lives, is the form follows function. I'm sorry. Yeah, form follows function, right? Quite often the opposite can get us into trouble, where we have some uncomfortable things, but they look beautiful, right? Or they get in the way. And so we'll talk about that as well, Ryan, on the private podcast this week. But I'm now much more comfortable buying used things. I'll give you an example here. As my landlord Kennedy said, I want to buy everything, I said, sure, I'll put together a list of everything that we have in here. Thankfully, I don't own a whole lot, so I was able to actually just put together a spreadsheet, which he was so impressed by. I'm like, it's just Google Sheets. Everyone has access to it.
Yeah. But you are the spreadsheet king, though.
Thank you.
I remember back in the corporate days.
I was concatenating formulas.
I very much admired your spreadsheet skills.
Well, thanks. But I just put together a very simple spreadsheet. Said, hey, here's everything I own, and here's what it would cost brand new. Now that it's used, here's what I'm willing to sell it to you for. And he was like, okay, I'll buy it.
Yeah.
And then that twinge came back again. And I realized, oh no, but wait, maybe. And then I realized, oh no, here's the truth. Over the last dozen years or so, I've built up this special superpower, and it's called letting go.
Yeah, amen.
And I think that you must be willing to let go of anything to regain everything. You could tweet that, Sean. And I think quite often when we cling to something, it prevents us from gaining what we want to gain, doing what we want to do, experience what we want to experience, having what we want to have. And then what do? We cling tighter, right? Yeah. I really liked all the furniture that I had. And it was rather appropriate for the home that we lived in for the last 5 or so years. But it was less appropriate going into this new sort of forever home. Or in fact, we're going to talk about forever homes on the Maxwell episode. There's a question about forever homes, right? And what does that mean exactly? Yeah. But Bex and I found our forever home. And what we realized is some of these things wouldn't actually be appropriate. We'd be cramming them into this space. And because we don't own much, we'll slowly populate the new space over the course of the next year or two until it feels right for us. Yeah. And so here's the second way to save money on every purchase. We talked about the 30-30 rule. The other way is to buy things used. Now, the two places that I go, Facebook Marketplace, and I just found this new Gucci coffee table, which are really expensive if you buy them new. He was an American designer back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And it's a piece of art. It's a beautiful table. But it's thousands of dollars if you buy it new.
Yeah.
And I found it on Facebook Marketplace for a few $100.
Nice.
2 scratches on it. Which gave
patina.
Yeah, there's some character to it, right?
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it. I think in the Maximal, the Rick Owens video.
Oh yes,
but I love it. Like he's going through he's a designer and he's going through his home, his office specifically. He was like, I moved in here like this. I haven't painted anything. I haven't refinished anything. He's like, these little dents and scratches. He's like, I love it. I love the patina. I'm like, there is a charm to it. I mean, there is, dude. The I forget his name, in Ohio, famous furniture maker, David T. Smith, I think.
Okay.
But I know people that worked for him, and like, you should see the contraptions that they have, the tools that they have to create patina on this furniture. I mean, you're talking about like a club with like nails and screws and like and they just sit there and they don't beat the hell out of it, but like they sit there and they like add patina to it, a little bit here, a little bit there, and yeah, or like it's crazy, man. They've really come up with some unique things to create this faux patina.
It sounds like one of those anger rooms, but a very light version of that.
Yeah.
I think you've gone to one of those, haven't you?
No, no, I haven't.
Has an escape room ever turned into one of those for you? You just start hitting the room?
No, dude. No, but it's just funny because I remember when I was a kid, I would get so mad that I remember fantasizing about anger rooms. And it's just funny how like now they're actually a thing.
They are. You have to put on like protective gear and eyewear, and then you have like a bat or a chainsaw. I don't know what you do to go into the room.
Yeah.
And we won't put a link to it in the show notes.
No, we won't.
But it sounds like a lot of fun.
Hey, with the right attitude, any room can be an anger room.
Oh, yeah. I think the same is true with a calm room.
Yeah, or bathroom.
We were Bex and I, my wife, we were talking on her podcast, which is called How to Love, and I was talking about how I have my dream house now. So I have this back house basically. It's an old converted garage. It's a small studio apartment. I'm like, and it just has a bed and a table, and that's all I need. And she goes, a bathroom too, right? And I said, oh, it has a bathroom? Yeah. Anyway, Ryan, the other place I look besides Facebook Marketplaces, Craigslist is still a solid place to look for. Now, this is part of the hunt. You have to know what you're looking for. I'll never get on Facebook Marketplace and browse.
Yeah.
I would discourage myself from doing that.
Yeah.
Because I don't browse for anything. I'm not looking for... If I know I want something in particular, like that table, then I went searching for it. Yeah. Now, it may not be available right now, but then what do? I wait for it back to the first way to save money. Yeah. Because guess what? I can get by without a coffee table.
Amen.
And I just set my coffee on the floor. I still have a coffee cup.
The coffee floor.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's fine to just wait for it. Craigslist, another place. Now, Alabama, you've been selling some of our things for the studio here. We had some carryover studio stuff or some things that just didn't work for our space. What are some of those websites that we've been using to sell some other things that are outside? I haven't used them personally, but I want to talk to you about those.
Yeah, so there's 4 that I cycle through. I use OfferUp as well as Facebook Marketplace. I found that those are really user-friendly, and those are great for local pickups.
What's OfferUp exactly?
So OfferUp is essentially the same thing as Facebook Marketplace. It's an app that is designed for you to find gently used, open box, thoroughly used kind of items in the same way that you would search for something on Facebook Marketplace. They both offer their own shipping methods, but I've personally found them to be really good if you're trying to sell and meet someone in your area, like at a local park or at somebody's house and things like that. You get to choose that to your comfort level of, I'd rather meet someone at a separate location or just have them come to me kind of thing. Gotcha. So I do like both of those. They're very user-friendly. They're really great for communication. The other one we use is eBay. I don't enjoy it as much, but it is much better if you're looking to ship items. I found a lot of people that are on eBay are expecting to have something ordered and shipped to them. Not as successful with local pickup, but still a good resource to have.
Yeah.
And a niche one that we use is Reverb, like reverberation. Reverb.com is really great for musical instruments. I used to work in music retail, and this was one of the best places that we would recommend people get most bang for their buck. They're reselling a guitar or a microphone. For us, we're doing some recording equipment. So that's the market for that kind of materials. That's people that are specifically looking for certain model numbers or brands of equipment, things like that.
Wow.
And is there one that you've had more success selling things on?
I would say OfferUp has been the most productive of the apps. Facebook Marketplace gets a lot of inquiries. They have a preset to where you can press a button and say, hey, is this still available?
Yeah.
You can just kind of establish that conversation. But a lot of them end up being dead ends. I think to your point, because of a lot of people are going on there and just browsing and they go, ooh, that looks nice. I want to see that. And they press the inquiry and they never come back again.
A lot of ghosting going on there.
Yes, for sure.
Now, in Alabama, if you are buying something from one of these sites, do you find one is the most user-friendly, the one that you, if you are looking for a particular item, is there one site that you gravitate toward?
I would say that I gravitate towards OfferUp. I have used eBay in the past. I've used that for open box electronics, like gently used phones and things like that. But the thing I like about OfferUp is it allows you to rank the person that is doing the buying and doing the selling, kind of similar to Airbnb. So you are ranked by how well were you on time? How friendly were you? How communicative were you? How reasonable and things like that. So you can get a snapshot of the person that you're potentially going to be doing a sale with or selling to see, hey, are they reputable about showing up on time? Are they really good at communicating? Or do they kind of flake off on you a little bit? Or are they not super nice to bargain with and haggle with? I really like that feature because you get an idea of the kind of person that you're going to meet up with, and you have those expectations at the front.
Man, I know this sounds like Black Mirror-ish, but I wish everyone had a customer rating. And you could just like go to someone's profile and it told you like how good of a customer are they. This would have helped so much in the retail space. I have this like, this is probably not a good idea, meaning like morally good. So I was in Chicago. Mariah's sister was waiting on some tables, and there was just this one particular table that was just like talking down, entitlement, just intentionally going out of their way to be a crappy customer. And I'm like, I want to own a restaurant one day just so I can kick people out who act like that.
Or charge them more.
What's that?
Charge them more.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like you can either pay twice as much or leave, but you cannot treat my staff that way.
Yeah. Well, no, I guess you wouldn't want them to at any price to treat your staff that way.
Of course.
If someone came in here with $1 million and they're like, "Hey, we want to be mean to Mallory,"
right?
Yeah, I'd tell them to kick rocks.
I'd be like, Mallory, we'll split it.
Thank you. Split it. I'll take a punching bag. That's fine.
It's the strangest indecent proposal. Here's $1 million to be mean.
To be mean, yeah, exactly. Anyway.
To the disembodied voice on your podcast.
But
why?
But you're right though. Like, there's no price that there would be. But
well, I do want to rate you real quick since we're talking about this.
All right,
Ryan.
you rate me.
You go first. So if you were to rate me as a
customer,
you're a friend or whatever,
I would give you 4.99 stars.
Oh,
because no one's perfect. Out of 5 stars.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was out of 100.
No, 4.99 stars, and it's only to mess with your OCD. Or no, I should have ranked you 5.01. That's what I'll rank you, 5.01.
I mean, I would on a 10 out of 10 scale, Ryan. Personality-wise, you're a 10. Looks-wise, you're
I'm an adjustable 6.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say let's move on to our callers, but we're running out of time here. Although if you do have a question or comment for our podcast, give us a call, 406-219-7839, or email a voice memo to podcast@theminimalists.com. Now, we have a question from Andrea, but we're going to save that hopefully for the Maximal episode this week. Ryan, what time is it?
You know what time it is. It's time for the lightning round, where we answer your text messages. You can text those questions, comments, smart remarks to 937-202-4654.
Yes, indeed. Now, during the lightning round, this is where Ryan and I do our best to answer questions with a short, shareable, less than 140 character response. So put the text of these minimal maxims in the show notes so you can copy and share our pithy answers on social media if you'd like. And now you can find all of our minimal maxims in one place, thanks to our good friend, Social Jess. She set up minimalmaxims.com for you.
What a good idea. I remember she came to us with that idea. I'm like, oh my God, you're a genius.
It's great because now all the pithy, and it's real simple. You just refresh the site. There's just one pithy minimal maxim. And Ryan can attest to this. Doing minimal maxims every week, just one, is way more difficult than one might think.
Yeah.
Because they end up sounding like faux fundities if you're not careful.
Right.
A faux profundity. And so Ryan and I are often like we're dueling with before the podcast with our minimal maxims because we want them to be strong and well, tweetable, right? Yeah. And I will tell you this, Ryan, this week's question is about minimalist architecture. So I have a pithy answer for you there. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times these minimal maxims, you go to the website, you can just copy and share it with, the friends, family, whomever, and also the show notes. If you get them sent right to your inbox every Tuesday, or if you text us that phone number you gave earlier, 937-202-4654, every Monday we'll send you a Monday morning minimal maxim.
We should have a faux fundity segment.
Oh, where we're just like making fun of our own maxims.
Yeah, I'm really good at faux fundities. Yeah, like if you've gone too far, keep going.
Don't tweet that podcast,
What
Sean.
does it mean? Dude, it is funny though, because I'll go to minimalmaxims.com sometimes and refresh the screen just to kind of look at some tweets.
Yeah.
Or look at some pithy answers, especially if I'm having trouble coming up with a pithy answer. I'll just, kind of get the spirit of some of them. And sometimes, or someone will tweet at me, and sometimes I'm like, did I say that? I guess I mean, they're quoting me. I must have said it. Like, man, that's good.
Well, I went there about a year ago, and Jess and I cleaned it up because we had over 1,000 minimal maxims on there.
Yeah.
And I went through and I'm like, some of these don't hold up.
Yeah.
And so I removed probably 600 of them.
Oh, wow.
And there's probably close to 1,000 there now at this point again. But there's a lot of ways to simplify your life. And these are just little reminders. And we'll start your week off each Monday with a Monday morning minimal maxim. Just send us a text. You can send those texts go to both of our phones, by the way. We respond to as many people as I can. We're going to respond to Olesia on the podcast.
Where I live doesn't have any general plan for the city, so everyone's designs clash and it looks ugly. Do we need minimalist architecture or just better taste?
So I don't want to prescribe minimalist architecture to everyone.
Yeah.
I would be in complete bliss, right? I'm a big fan of like brutalism. In fact, when we were finding our new home, Bex is more sort of wabi-sabi, which is the Japanese art of imperfection. It's like having one small imperfection somewhere that adds a human element to an otherwise more pristine space. I'm a bigger fan of like brutalism, like pretty extreme minimalism with respect to architecture. Yeah. But if I were to force that onto everyone, it'd be like you forcing Art Deco onto everyone, or those weird houses like the turrets on houses or Victorian style, whatever it is. You don't want to force anything onto everyone, right? And that's what regulations do. However, sometimes when you go to a place and it seems really calm, I think about Sedona. Have you been to Sedona?
Oh, yeah.
And so they don't allow, I think it's the only McDonald's in the world that doesn't have the golden arches.
Yeah.
They have like this green arch that conforms to their city planning.
There's a regulated aesthetic in Sedona. Yeah. And
when you and I were back in retail, Ryan, I always advocated for more signage, and I was part of the problem. I was making cityscapes uglier with giant pylon signs, billboards, more signage. We need customers to see where our store is. Yeah. We need banners out front. We need the dancing, waving man, right? That way we know that people know where we are. But of course, that adds to the chaos. I was adding to the chaos. And for that, everyone in Dayton, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Northern Kentucky, Indiana, I apologize. Here's my pithy answer for you, though, Ryan. Complexity is ugly. simplicity is beautiful. Now, you don't need minimalist architecture in order to simplify. You can simplify from wherever you are. You can have the craziest, most extreme, radical, busy architecture and begin to simplify from there. You can have the most full, cluttered home, and you can begin to simplify from there. And as you simplify, you start making space, not space for more things, but space for more calm, for more peace, more tranquility.
My pithy answer is this: a madhouse is built with bricks of expectations. Now, there's something we say that I love it, man. I think it's one of the most profound things we've come up with, which is low expectations, high standards. And you would think when you say low expectations, people often think like, well, so I just shouldn't care about the people I bring into my life, or, I shouldn't have these expectations. It's like, no, you shouldn't have expectations that good people are going to come into your life, but have high standards of the people you do bring into your life and the home that you have. But the thing is if I throw my expectations on Mallory, hey, Mallory, I need you to wear these other things because whatever you're wearing, by the way, lovely outfit. So I don't mean that at all. No worries.
Except for those socks.
Right.
Deal with it.
Actually, those are cool socks. But let's say I threw that on her. It's like two things. One, I'm going to make Mallory do something that probably goes against her standards. And and two, I'm like creating this misery for myself when she doesn't, or the opportunity to be miserable when she doesn't meet my expectations. So lower your expectations, raise your standards, because you're going to be miserable if you're just hurling your expectations on everyone.
I love what you're saying there too, because in a way, whenever we have an expectation, that's the madhouse part of your minimal maxim here. We're punishing ourselves for other people's decisions.
Right.
And so if I was serious about the socks, I actually, 6 out of 10, but that's another joke. Calm down, people. All right. So
10 out of 10. we got to make sure that our audience knows we're joking. We're
Jordan, blur out her feet on the podcast, please. Anyway, if I were now upset about her socks, I'm punishing myself for her decision.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't mean that I can't have a certain standard where it's like, hey, no, everyone in here has to wear shirts. Okay?
Sure.
If Professor Sean shows up without a shirt, as hunky as he is, I don't want to see it. And I don't want to impose that onto anyone else.
I'm really glad you just told me that, because I had plans.
All right, everyone needs to wear a shirt except hunky Professor Sean.
Yes, indeed. So I don't want to punish myself. And the best way to punish yourself is to have expectations of others.
And there are,
you can tweet that too.
I like that you're bringing this up, because yes, we do expect everyone to come to the studio fully clothed. So, I mean, that is it, but that's a low expectation.
Yes.
How they're clothed that would be a little bit higher of an expectation, which again would lead to a madhouse.
Yes, indeed. Well, Ryan, I got 4 things for right here, right now. Usually I say, here's one thing that's going on in the life of the minimalist.
We're so minimal.
This is extreme minimalism.
Dude, when we were flying to Nashville for the Dave Ramsey stuff, the stewardess, she was like looking at your laptop. She was like, oh, and I like went to the bathroom. She was like, oh, I saw you guys have a podcast. What's your podcast about? So then I explained to her the Minimalist, and so on.
It's about 45 minutes.
Yeah. No, I need to start saying that. She was like, wait, and you live in LA? I'm like, yeah. She was like, how does that sync up with your philosophy, being minimalists and living in Los Angeles? I'm like, ma'am, everything we do is steeped in irony. Like no matter what we do, like everything we do is steeped in irony.
There's a giant blanket of irony that I just wrap myself in each night.
Yes.
The first thing right here, right now, the final days of minimalism. We sent this out. If you're on our email list, you already know about this, but every chapter has an ending, Ryan. And on June 15th, 2022, Minimalism, our first documentary, Minimalism, a documentary about the important things, exited Netflix.
Yeah.
And I want to read this essay really quick. It's a short one. We'll put a link to it in the show notes as well. It's called The Final Days of Minimalism. This particular chapter began 9 years ago in late 2013 when the Minimalists teamed up with director Matt D'Avella and our friends over at Spire Media as well, Dave and Jeff and Marla at the time. They helped us with the film, right? And so we teamed up with Matt D'Avella to film our first documentary. We didn't know what it would be called. who would be in it, or how it might influence the world. We simply piled into Ryan's Toyota Corolla and filmed 1,000 hours of tour stops, minimalist interviews, and sunset time lapses.
Inside joke.
It took 2 years, but after 9 grueling iterations, we finally produced a film we were proud of. Yet Netflix and every other streamer turned us down. So we released Minimalism independently in 400 theaters in the US, Canada, Australia. I would not do that again, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, it sounds impressive, but yeah.
And it was the #1 indie doc that year, which was fascinating, right? And talk about that here. So to our astonishment, it was the #1 indie doc of 2016. It also won awards at several film festivals. We returned to Netflix with these triumphs, but the film was, quote, too different. It didn't conform to a formula. So they rejected us again. In fact, everyone rejected us. But we didn't let that stop us. We released Minimalism online in 2016. Again, we were surprised. It climbed to #1 on iTunes and stayed there for weeks that summer. This online success restarted the conversations with Netflix. They soon licensed the North American rights through a distributor. Minimalism debuted on their platform on December 15th, 2016. The timing was perfect. At that moment, Netflix was the dominant streaming service, and many people were looking to simplify, especially during the consumeristic holiday season. The kindling we provided allowed Netflix to spark a conflagration. Hundreds of media outlets and dozens of famous people shared the doc with their audiences. Tens of millions of people watched. Minimalism, the movie and the movement, trended for months. It's so funny, if you go look at Google Trends now and you type in the word minimalism, you look at December 2016.
Through the roof, huh?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, this giant apex there.
Wow.
And then the years that followed that as well. It's just this giant search for minimalism. And it was because of our film and Netflix, sort of that giant conflagration there, right? And so the film tapped into the cultural zeitgeist, exposing a general dissatisfaction with materialism. The attention and impact were overwhelming, so much so that Netflix licensed the worldwide streaming rights in March 2017, setting 190 countries ablaze with simple living. Minimalism performed so well that in 2019, Netflix renewed the worldwide rights for 3 more years. They also purchased our second doc, The Minimalists, Less Is Now, as a Netflix original. But now, as those 3 years come to an end, so does our agreement with Netflix. This is a bittersweet moment. Even though Less Is Now will be featured at the Emmys later this month, we're actually recording this a couple days before the Emmys, so we don't know what the outcome is. But by the time you listen to this or watch this, you will know. We weren't able to come to an agreement with Netflix, as hard as we tried to keep minimalism on their platform. Yeah, I think this is happening with a lot of streaming services right now. There are layoffs. There are certain things that are happening. It's not unique to Netflix. Netflix is the biggest streamer out there still.
Yeah.
But as we know, the stock market has tanked significantly. And unfortunately, Netflix at this time, I'm sure they'll be fine long term. But right now, their stock price is down pretty substantially. And so working out anything with them has proven to be a bit more difficult this year. Not that it hasn't been great, because it has. Ergo, you had a few days left to watch Minimalism one last time on Netflix. Well, you don't anymore.
Yeah,
but
it's gone.
Yeah, we'll tell you why here in a second. Now, let's be clear. This isn't a bad thing. It's merely the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. We'll eventually seek a new streaming home for Minimalism, but in the meantime, you'll be able to watch it on demand via iTunes, Amazon, or Vimeo. You can find all the links at minimalismfilm.com.
Vimeo's the best, though.
Yeah, the Vimeo version has 6 hours of bonus interviews.
Yeah.
And so
Pretty cool.
It's like 20 extra videos you get there
Yeah.
for the same price as if you were to buy it from iTunes or wherever else. Yeah. This is a chance for us, though, to say big thanks to Netflix and to everyone, the tens of millions of people who watched the film
Amen.
the last 6 years.
Yeah. This is not a knock on Netflix. We really are grateful that they gave us these opportunities.
Yeah, you changed our lives and you changed the lives of millions of people.
Yeah.
And we are so grateful for that. I mean, in fact, the film changed a lot of lives, but you all, Netflix and the people who watch, changed our lives just as much.
Yeah.
I never thought we'd be doing all of this with the podcast. We originally started this podcast to promote the film, and it ends up that the film promoted the podcast. It was a really beautiful accident.
Nothing works out how we think it's going to work out. People, I don't know why the big question that I get asked all the time that I need to figure out a way to process it internally because it bugs me every time someone asks me, so where are the minimalists in 10 years? What are you guys going to do 5 years from now? It's like, even if I had a goal, like it's going to be completely different in 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, the honest answer to that, and I think we need to become more comfortable with this in general, is I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't know are 3 of the most freeing words in the English language.
Amen. Yeah.
Because I don't need to cling to the answer.
Yeah.
I even do this with parenting now. I was talking to Bex about this on How to Love. Like, Ella, our daughter, doesn't get a whole lot of answers from me, but she gets a lot of questions from me because it's so much more important when you're teaching someone to not give them the answer, but to allow them to find the answer.
Do you think I should start asking the question back to whoever asks me that and be like, "What are you going? Where are you going to be in 10 years?"
No. I mean, to me, like, it's not
I'm
an
kidding.
interesting question, right?
No.
And so, to me, it's not even a real serious question.
No.
Because none of us know where we're going to be. And so I never answer an unserious question with something serious.
Yeah.
Jordan.
I have the answer that you need to say.
I'm ready.
Is where are the minimalists in 10 years? Well, 10 years older.
Hey, yes. You're a genius. You're a genius.
So, by the way, this does not affect our other film that's on Netflix. It should be streaming in perpetuity. It's worldwide. It's called The Minimalists Less Is Now. So if you want something else to share with your friends and family who have Netflix, netflix.com/The Minimalists takes you right there. I got a few more things right here, right now, Ryan. I want to go over with you
Oh, that's
real
right.
quick.
That was just one of 4.
Yeah, these are much quicker. A brand new month is here. It is July. We have 100 free local meetup groups in 100 different cities. We also have an online city that meets online. If you want to connect with people locally in your area, minimalist.org. They're free local meetup groups. We're not in charge of them. We've handed them over to you, and we want you to talk about different types of clutter and easing the clutter. What are we talking about this month, Ryan?
We're talking about finances, minimalist finances.
Financial clutter.
Yeah, financial clutter. So there's no agenda with these. The only thing is like we give a topic, and probably the groups are going to cover that, but not necessarily. But I guess what I'm trying to say is think of this as meetup.com for minimalists.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of what it is.
Or aspiring minimalists, people who want to simplify their lives. You don't have to be a minimalist to join minimalist.org. These are just people who are interested in simplifying, whether it's simplifying your career, you're simplifying your finances, you're simplifying your stuff, you're simplifying your relationships. You can find other open-minded people in your area where you discuss things online and then you meet locally occasionally. Yeah. Speaking of meeting locally, Ryan and I and our good friend TK Coleman, we just started something called the Sunday Symposium.
Heck yeah.
Now, I'm a little hesitant to even mention it on this podcast because by the time this comes out, the first one is sold out, almost certainly. But you can get on the wait list over there.
Yeah.
So it's only limited to the first 200 people.
Yeah.
It's a free event, or you can donate to help us pay for the venue and to pay the staff there as well. SundaySymposium.com. It's a simple gathering for simple people. All beliefs, ideologies are welcome. All non-beliefs are welcome as well. All ages. You can find all the details over at SundaySymposium.com. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. This is happening in Los Angeles. So if you're anywhere in Southern California, and we're going to try and turn this into a regular thing. Maybe it's a monthly meetup where we're all getting together. We'll have a talk. We'll have special guests. We might even have some special secret musical guests there as well. We'll do a discussion. We'll do audience Q&A. And each one's going to be a little bit different. We're going to build this local community. We're going to go small. It's not about reaching the most people. It's about going deep with this community of people locally. Yeah. If you'd like to join us, you can get on the wait list over at SundaySymposium.com. And finally, real quick, how to write better. I teach this class 2 or 3 times a year. It is opening up this weekend, 48 hours only, first 100 students over at howtowritebetter.org. Myself and Professor Sean, we are, we'll teach you how to write better.
How to write good words.
We were originally going to call it How to Write Gooder, like sort of ironically.
Yeah, but it would have been funny to like you, me, and Professor Sean.
That's it. And so it's a 4-week online class. First 100 students only, howtowritebetter.org if you're interested, or you can go over there and you can just download the free ebook as well. It's called 15 Ways to Write Better. Alabama, what else you got for us?
Here are some voicemail comments and insights from our listeners.
Hi, this is Molly from Salt Lake City. I'm calling with a tip regarding managing the collecting impulse. One strategy I have used is to make friends with people who share the same hobby or collection and do regular exchanges with them. So you get the thrill of having a new item, but then when the thrill wears off, you just return it to the other owner and you can get another new item when you get it back.
Hi, this is Tara from Seattle, and I was just calling in reference to Molly when she was talking about her trophies. One cool thing that I did was I took all the little nameplates off and I kept them all like in a scrapbook. You could do that, or you could even put them in a shadow box with your medals, or just set them up and take a really cool picture and then keep that. Otherwise, chuck the trophies and, just enjoy the memories, but let them go.
All right, y'all. Before we get into our added value segment this week, here is a thoughtful comment from one of our lovely Patreon subscribers. Sarah says, "New patron here. I'm a huge fan. I found your podcast through the pandemic and found immense value in it. Thank you. I replaced my YouTube premium subscription with your private podcast. I'm listening to the private archives right now while grounding outside with a cup of coffee."
I love it.
We've gotten similar messages that I'm getting so much more value. I'm spending $5 or $10 if you want the video version of the private podcast. But $5, it's like I'm getting so much more value from this than I would from AMC Plus or CNN Plus, which RIP.
Low blow, Milburn.
Too soon?
Too soon.
Hulu, Netflix, whatever. If you need to cancel a subscription because you want more of less, you can join us over at patreon.com/theminimalist and thousands of other open-minded minimizers like you. For our added value segment this week, let's listen to a track from 070 Shake. She's got this new album out, Ryan. The album is called You Can't Kill Me. And the song is called Body. And I don't even know how to describe it because there's a hip hop vibe to it, but it's sort of like this surreal pop punk music. And the way that I've summed it up is basically like if there was a female Radiohead that made an album with Talib Kweli and Sade. I mean, no one's Sade, let's be honest here, but it's stunning. So enjoy the song. It's called Body by 070 Shake. By the way, Ryan, we got a bunch more surprise questions this week, like how does minimalist architecture influence more intentional living? What should I look for if I want to buy my forever home? When does minimalist architecture become brutalist? And how does it affect how we interact with public spaces? Plus a million more questions about minimalist architecture for The Minimalist. And if you want to hear all that, check out the Minimalist private podcast this week. Visit patreon.com/theminimalists or click the link in the description to subscribe. You'll also get a personal link so that our weekly private podcast plays in your favorite podcast app. And you get access to all of the minimalism archives. Patreon.com/theminimalists. You can follow The Minimalist on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at The Minimalist. If you want our podcast show notes in your inbox, sign up for our email list over at theminimalists.com. On behalf of Ryan Nicodemus, from Alabama, Podcast Sean, Jordan No More, Professor Sean, Social Jess, Danny Unknown, Post-Production Peter, Emma the Immigrant. Not a very minimalist team you guys got here. What is going on? And the rest of our team, like Jeff and Dave and TK. Yada, yada, yada. Thanks, so many of you. Ryan, it used to be so simple.
Roll the credits.
My name is Joshua Fields Milburn. If you leave here today with just one message, please let it be this. Love people and use things, because the opposite never works. Thanks for listening, y'all.
We'll see you next time.
Every little thing you think that you need, every little thing you think that you need, every little thing that's just feeding your greed. Oh, I bet that you'd be fine without it.